Hello, I'm Kent Williams. I'm production and booking manager here at the Second Fiddle, Nashville, Tennessee, on Lower Broadway. Right now, we're actually in one of our honky-tonks. We're in between floors. We just added a third floor rooftop, opened it back in December. We had a blank canvas in order, to make things how we wanted it for this build out. And opening the rooftop is huge for us. The space, although, is small. We've got the outdoor rooftop, which is good, the patio, but inside, all of the buildings down here in Nashville are old. Some date back to the 1840s, 1850s. So we added a floor on top of that original footprint. We were redoing the sound system at the stage. It was time when things were dated and worn out. I researched and did what I thought was good. And, we got new amps, we got new speakers. We put more thought into it probably than had ever been put into. And I didn't do a good job with it. I guess, I did the best I could with the knowledge that I had and thought I was getting a good system. And I just didn't think about it in all the terms, I guess you could say. It's for lack of better explanation. Yeah, so I, went with a good system and it was good. It was a very loud system. It did great, but it wasn't tailored to the room. So I was, as far as the speakers were very loud, very good, but they just weren't directed where we needed them to be directed. We had bartenders that were getting upset because the band was too loud, and we had, staff that was just, they were blown out by the end of the night. So had to work inside of a confined space. So we have the interior space was going to be narrow, and we needed to work on the acoustics for sure. So we called the experts. Not only did we want to sound good, but we wanted a good customer experience, because if it hurts the ears, the customers don't want to stick around. So we want to make our musicians comfortable. We're all about the bands having a good time, because when they're having a good time, it rolls right off the stage into the crowd. The customers love it. When they can hear the band and they can clearly understand what the band's saying, even when they're building rapport, the band's trying to talk to the customers. If it's all muddled, it doesn't do any good. So if we can set ourselves apart and have that clarity without the high volume, the customer experience goes up 100%. It was kind of one of those scenarios like, I've got a guy, I've got a guy, I know somebody. So it was definitely outside of what we had ever done. We had never brought in a guy. It can't hurt to talk to them, because what I had done with the knowledge that I had was just, too loud, focused in all the wrong spots. So that was the venture started from there. Actually, it started with a microphone. I purchased a microphone from you guys, and then the relationship grew from there. And once I knew it was time, we had that other system for about a year, and just the complaints from staff, and it was just too loud. So I knew there was a science to it, but I had no idea the realm of possibilities. So that's when you came in and started making a plan for the room and measured every nook and cranny of the room. And my biggest goal, which you asked me at the time, was to get the sound, the volume off of the bartenders, because they could not hear the customers. It was just so loud right up at the front of the bar, in front of the mains. They kept having wrong drink orders. They were getting wrong drink orders because they simply could not hear them. So the spill tab kept going up, and it was wrong drink order after wrong drink order. So that was when I knew I needed to go another route. Fast forward to finding you guys, and then the venture started there, and it was a very lucrative sound experience for us. Changed the name of the game as far as our venue goes. The main purpose of putting money into a new system and putting money into the right equipment, the main goal was the bartenders and the staff. Let's get it to where they're comfortable. They can hear and I guess the biggest thing is I didn't understand how that could be done, because you've got a speaker hanging from the rafters, and what can you do to keep that sound from blasting right at the bar, which, is 12 feet from the main. So what opened my eyes to a lot of it was the design process, going in, measuring everything in the room, like I said, with, everything from the air ducts to the ceiling above the bar, where the poles in the middle of the room were, where everything, where the booth was, where the tables were. We had a raised area off to the side with another bar in it, how that changed the dynamics of the sound. So once that process started and I saw it on paper, it was all entered into a computer program, and you showed me that and how much difference you could paint the room. Literally, you could paint the room with sound. And that was just something that was beyond what I had ever thought of, that was possible. So once we got that process done and we had meetings at your office and you went through different mains or different speaker systems, brands, what would tailor best to what our needs were. And so that process to me was fun, to be able to see that and to know that room being established already, and it was finite. We couldn't change the walls in that room. We couldn't change any of that. So we also, our other venue, Legends Corner, when we started it was another already built venue that, we had to work within the confines of the space. That went great too. We changed the sound in Legends to, we put delays in the room. That was something that, we had tried once before in the main room at stage, and they just weren't balanced properly. And so again, where the math comes in. So once we started this venture back in 2020, when we started adding this new floor here at Second Fiddle with the rooftop, we still had only a certain amount of square foot, but we at least was able to look at wall treatments differently. So that was when you came in with a idea of, why don't we try this on this back wall instead of having brick or just wood or whatever? How about we try an acoustic treatment? And sounded great at first. I was trying to wrap my head around how is putting wood with a certain amount of airspace in between and different insulation behind that wood, and then 2 other layers of other wood. And so it was just it didn't make sense to me, but since I had known you so long, I trusted you. And I thought, let's give it a whirl. Let's see if we can add this to the budget. And knowing that it was such a narrow space and knowing stage volume with a live band, like I said, we've been doing this long enough now to where we already know all that is, you can't change that. When you have a live band, you have, somebody banging the drums and a live amp on stage, bass amp, guitar amp, all that stuff creates ambient noise, loud ambient noise. So if we could find some way to tame that, and if that be an acoustical wall, then let's do it. So the owners were, ready to try it, and they got on board, and so we went with it. It was surprising, to say the least, because when we first opened, we were like everybody else that tried a construction project in 2020, 2021. Everything was back ordered. So all of our in-ear monitors which we had 4, ordered to go up there in a hardline pack so that we wouldn't run into a stage volume issue as much. If you can take 4 wedges off a stage and everybody have in-ear monitors, you're changing the whole ball game right there, because a lot of these artists down here, if they've got a wedge, they've got it cranked on 10, So when we had everything ordered, we were 8 months on back order on our in-ears. So we had to open with 4 hot wedges on stage. And I thought, this is going to be a true test to this, acoustic wall treatment. And it was a game changer. If we hadn't, I really feel like if we hadn't had that wall, our engineers would have been fighting it constantly, because I wasn't mixing the room, but all of our guys that are very experienced, and they would have wanted to have killed me, I'm pretty sure. So it was that moment on the very first night, cranking it up, knowing that we've got all 4 live wedges on stage, drum kit. It would have been a whole different ball game. And every engineer that's mixed up there said the same thing, while they were mixing, because all these other stages before, they don't have the wall treatment, so they know. And it's same size stage, same size room in one of our other venues, so we know how tight it was going to be. And especially when and that's another thing, we've got brick on both walls. Adding that acoustic treatment behind it soaked up all those extra frequencies that would have just been bouncing around that stage and just cycling. So I think it was 100% game changer. Just yesterday, I was talking to one of our engineers, Roman, and he said, this is by far my favorite room to mix out of all of our rooms. We've got 7 stages down here between our 4 clubs. So, to hear that from an engineer that's been with us, I'd say Roman's been with us now 6-7 years. So he's mixed all of these rooms. He's seen our PAs grow and how much better they've gotten. But for him to say that on a brand new room with, surrounded by brick walls and a concrete floor, for him to say, this is my favorite, and he pulled up the house EQ and it was just nearly flat. And when you can get that with, a live band on stage, that's huge. It's huge. Bartenders, I've heard nothing but good things from them. They're right underneath one of the mains. But if you can get rid of that stage volume that you're constantly fighting, stage volume down here is a battle all the time. So having that wall directly behind that band, soaking up the monitors, the cymbals, the live amps, if you can soak all that up, all you're hearing is a contoured sound out of the mains. You're not getting all that ambient noise being picked up from all the mics on stage. So it's a clean, clear sound coming from the mains. And, at that point, it's so much better for the bartenders, because they can, even though it's still loud, we're still a live music venue, you can't get away from that. But when it's clean, it doesn't hurt them. I am definitely going to call Design Technik for our next it'll be a remodel of our other rooftop stage at the stage on Broadway. So that's one of the first things I said when we were putting this in. If this goes well, we'll call them back, and we'll call Jason and get Design Technik to come in and do that back wall there. So